the value of stewardship projects, things that they can do on their own property, and the benefit of that. The other thing it does is help sell our programs, because funding is one of the things that lets us do the monitoring programs. It also lets us do the education programs and the stewardship programs. So all of a sudden, having the Watershed Report Card is a great tool to attach to your grant applications, and using that as a tool to really say, this is important, we're not doing well, the water quality is impaired, you can see the downward trend based on this data, so that's why we need funding for something. So these are a tool for all kinds of things. I'll just talk briefly about the standardized indicators. As I mentioned, the things we're looking at are the surface water quality, the forest conditions, and the groundwater quality. The challenge, as many of you know, in these indicators is there's no policy trigger for action related to any of these. So you can see what your problems are in our watershed. We have high levels of sediment, we have high bacteria, and high levels of nutrients. So we know what the problems are, but we don't really have the ability to do a whole lot about it. When I do my monthly sampling, I get a really high E. coli measurement. It's not being dealt with for drinking water standards, so there's nobody to tell. I remember when I first started, that made me really nervous. I had this huge 38,000 E. coli per 100 mils of water, and I went to my manager and I said, what do I do? And they said, well, I don't know. I want to call the health unit? Okay, I called the health unit. Thanks. That actually did end up triggering action. We actually found a leak in a sanitary sewer because the health unit didn't know what to do with it either. So they called the city, and the city said, oh my goodness, we better do something. So they put a camera down the sewer and we found the leak. So that was a good one, but there's no established process, and there's no policy that says you have to do anything. So that's one of the key challenges. But it does motivate people to take action. Forest conditions is another good one. We use the Environment Canada How Much Habitat is Enough guidelines when we're trying to evaluate what our forest cover rating is. And again, that's a great one. You can start showing people you don't have enough forest cover, so you can take some action, and that's a really quick and easy fix. And tree planting is a great way to get people out there and start learning about their environment. The grading system we used looks at total phosphorus, E. coli, and benthic macroinvertebrates, so the bugs that live in the bottom of the stream, and those are the long-term indicators of water quality because they can't escape. So all of a sudden, all you're finding is very pollution tolerant species. You know that you've got impaired water quality. So all of these get put together, and you notice that letter grade down the side. And then you put a map together like this, showing your surface water quality, and then you have your grades. And so this is a really powerful motivator in many areas. We haven't published ours yet. They're going to be coming out this fall. But other watersheds, I found a couple of really interesting things. Either the people that get the D say, oh my goodness, we've got a D, what can we do? And then they're very motivated to take action. But the problem is the people with the A's say, oh, fantastic, we don't have to do anything. So that has proved to be a challenge. So we've spent hours talking about how the grading system works and how to deal with that messaging and how to remind people that while you have an A right now, you want to maintain that A, and there are still other things that you could be doing to improve the health of your watershed or the health of the community in your watershed. So that's kind of an interesting balance to maintain. This is that standardized format I was talking about. So you've got these panels that you can use to convey this information, and it does give us some flexibility in terms of what we can talk about it. And as we get more information, or we start bridging those gaps with public health and other organizations, you can put in those things. If you have special events, please come out to our tree planting day, join the watershed monitoring. If you have community-based monitoring programs, you can promote them there, and let people know how to get involved. Because I find that there's nothing worse than telling somebody how bad things are and then not giving them an opportunity to do something about it. That doesn't help empower the residents of your watershed. So we spend a lot of time doing the monitoring and collecting the data to do the reporting, and that certainly has benefits. But when it gets really exciting is when you can turn the information into action. And so you've got some images here of some of the data collection required prior to a restoration program. So quite often when we're out monitoring in the field, we'll find sites that are really good candidate sites for restoration. And then that allows us to use the data that we've collected to reinforce why it's so important, get the funding, get the partner, and do the work. So this is a restoration that we did a few years ago. This is a tributary to one of our main rivers. You can see the before picture was a concrete lined channel, actually, providing very little habitat, not very good water quality. But because we had all this background data, we were able to recognize the importance in terms of habitat and water quality and turn it into what you see on the right-hand side. So that's a great one. And what we found is the watershed report cards are good and the information is fantastic, but to actually have a demonstration site to take someone out to so they can see it with their own eyes and stand beside it is more powerful. So this is right smack in the middle of the city of Peterborough. So I can actually take politicians there and say, see, that's, you know, the $10,000 you gave me, that's what it did. So that's fantastic. This is, again, a before shot, doing some surveys before the restoration. And this is about 4 months after the restoration. And then the monitoring doesn't stop after you've finished the work. And so this is just a shot showing a couple of pie charts showing the difference in the benthic macroinvertebrate communities in this watercourse after we did the restoration. So you see some changes in the community composition. You see a decrease in the pollution-sensitive species. Fish species were observed very quickly afterwards, and then you started to see frogs and turtles and a real enhancement of biodiversity. So again, that monitoring data helps you quantify the benefits of the restoration, helps you get funding for more. This last case study is the Loggerhead Marsh Monitoring Program. This is a really interesting marsh right in the city of Peterborough, surrounded by development. And the city, we have a very good working relationship with the city, and they've started to recognize the value of monitoring and stewardship. So they've actually hired us to do ongoing monitoring to try to capture the impact of development on this wetland. So this is just a shot showing one of our survey locations marked with flagging tape in the wetland. But what this is, it's a non-provincially significant wetland adjacent to a huge residential subdivision that's been under construction for almost 9 years. So we're seeing a huge impact. And what we do is we monitor the amphibians, the water chemistry, benthics, vegetation, birds, buffers, all those sorts of things, and try to see what is the impact. So at a glance, you can start to see that the increase in our pollution-tolerant taxa is increasing. We're seeing a decrease in the diversity of our vegetation species. We're seeing increased levels of E. coli, total coliforms, total suspended solids, a decrease in DO. So again, that monitoring is revealing the impacts of this construction on the wetland. But again, it's given us the ability to partner and do some planting. And so we've been able to enhance the buffers, do some tree planting and shoreline restoration, both adjacent to the wetland and establishing buffers around the stormwater ponds to try to minimize some of these impacts. So that's, to me, that's a really big good news story, is that someone's recognized the value of the data and is actually willing to foot the bill to do some of the remedial work as well. So the lessons learned, keeping it simple, providing the science in a user-friendly format is really important, using that relevant messaging for your audience, so making sure they can understand it, and recognizing that one product doesn't tell everything, so we do have this variety of things. We can do presentations, we can use those report cards, you can take snippets and make just an update for a municipality or a report just on a subdivision. You can use that data in a variety of ways, so you have to be creative. The watershed report cards are also a fantastic tool for education. And I'm going to have to incorporate the watershed wiggle into my education programs now. But just making sure people understand what is a watershed. I'm sure everyone in this room has had to give that explanation at least once in their life. So making sure that people understand that. Indicators, what do they mean? What are they? Being able to explain that to people is so important. and just explaining what you do and engaging people, getting them excited and interested. This shot shows actually some Canada World Youth volunteers, so bringing the watershed to life. They had to do a community placement, and I think they were dreading the fact that they had to come work with a natural resource agency and do tree planting and things. By the end, they learned so much. So we were engaging people. Partnerships, of course, are critical, but informing those decision makers and guiding local planning activities, another really, really important aspect of what we do, in using watershed reporting as a tool for that is important. Reporting also creates that recognition of the importance of long-term data, and I know Martin and I have had some discussions about long-term data sets, and they're expensive. They're hard to maintain, so if you've actually got one, trying to explain to the people who are footing the bill why they're so critical is hard. So again, another really good tool to help you do that, contributing to watershed planning and creating community support for watershed-based activities. I'll leave you with two images. This is the Kawartha Lakes, just north of Peterborough. And so when people say, why do you do what you do? Well, we do it so that doesn't end up looking like that. That's one of the tailings ponds in Sudbury. Thank you very much.